The first 100 days of KwaZulu-Natal's new cabinet is evidence that very little will change under this new executive. While the bus may have a new driver, it remains broken. This is according to the Democratic Alliance's KwaZulu-Natal leader and MPL Francois Rodgers as he reviews the achievements of the new ANC leadership in that province. He joins us now to further expand on this. Thank you very much, Francois, for availing yourself this morning. You believe that the divided ANC is unable to develop a capable state in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, which ultimately impacts people on the ground. How so?
Good morning, Dudu, and good morning to your viewers. Yeah, indeed. You know, with the new faction of the ANC, the Taliban haven't taken over power and the shifting of the deck chairs in the province. And if one looks at the resultant April floods and the poor reaction from the provincial government in dealing with that crisis alone, then you realize that very little is going to change. From a financial perspective, the province has never been so vulnerable. We've now been told that our contingency reserve, which was 350 million rand, has now had to be plowed back into our provincial departments. So clearly things and positions might have changed, but we see very little change on the ground from the new executive.
The report card does not look good, an overall score of D. However, in particular, you note the Agriculture Department, Transport and Community Safety, MEC. You've given them an F. Why?
Well, I think if you look at the Department of Agriculture, for years now, it's been limping along. We keep being told by the ANC that they're implementing radical agrarian socio-economic transformation, but we don't see it happening on the ground. There's very little evidence of it. You know, departments may get clean audits from the Auditor General, but to quote the new chairperson of the ANC, Siboniso Duma, a clean audit doesn't mean that there's effective service delivery. And the Department of Agriculture is one of those biggest failures when it comes to supply chain. One just has to look at the entity known as Ntingwe Tea, which is supposed to be the jewel in the Department of Agriculture. It continually has to be bailed out, and there seems to be no solutions to the problem and to the continual financial bailout. And with our current financial situation, we cannot continue on this particular trend.
Given that it's only been 100 days of office, how much of the problems have they inherited from the previous administration?
Well, you know, I don't believe that is an excuse, because many of these MECs are returning MECs. So they have known what the challenges are, where the problems are, what the issues are on our socio-economic landscape. So they've had an opportunity to address this. It's nothing new. And yet we see the same failures time after time. You know, another incident that comes to mind is the Department of Education, which is also in dire crisis. It currently sits now with a 1 billion rand overdraft to be able to operate its department in the province. And we don't have that billion rand to bail out the department. So the next budget cycle is going to be an extremely difficult cycle to be able to balance the books and ensure that we get effective and efficient service delivery out, particularly in a department like the Department of Education.
KwaZulu-Natal is a big province with a healthy population. You note the triple challenges of poverty, inequality and unemployment. And you also accuse the ANC in that province of being self-serving. How then are you helping the people of KwaZulu-Natal? What options are available to you?
Well, as an opposition and as the effective opposition in KwaZulu-Natal, our duty and our responsibility is to highlight the challenges and to put forward solutions and proposals to try and address exactly this. And if one has a look at the effectiveness of opposition in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, we submit written questions to departments and await responses. And an analysis shows us that almost 60% of all written questions have been submitted by the Democratic Alliance, with the other parties falling down as low as 3% from the EFF. So we certainly believe that we play our oversight role as opposition and that we put forward solutions and suggestions. The reality is if you don't want to listen to the opposition and you don't want to take cognizance of what the opposition is saying, then you find exactly what's currently happening in eThekwini with our beaches and with the festive season looming.
Something comes to mind about when elephants fight, it is what the grass that suffers, I think the saying goes. And to that point, right, there's still some 15,000 displaced residents since the floods in April. I mean, what are the relevant departments telling you, at least, when you search for answers?
Well, here's the interesting fact, that the Auditor General, during his report, discovered that only just over 3% of Human Settlements budget, the flood relief budget, had been spent. And as at the end of October, that jumped up to just below 20%. Now that tells you a story. When you're given money from either the provincial realignment of budgets or from National Treasury, and you're unable to spend the money, that's why we still have 15,000 flood victims who are living in community halls. I mean, that's got to be an absolute indicative sign of a failure of government in building a capable state and addressing exactly the question that you've raised.
Francois Rodgers is with the Democratic Alliance in KwaZulu-Natal. Thank you very much for availing yourself this morning.